Wait, could it be?
As I sat in the obstetrics and gynecology clinic, engrossed in my smartphone, a woman approached me. When I looked up, there stood my husband's colleague, someone I'd met before. She rubbed her belly, which was as big as mine, and said with joy,
You're having your second one already? Looking at that belly, I guess we have the same due date, huh?
What do you mean by second one?
I admire how quickly you're doing it. Your first one is still about 6 months old, right?
I was confused by what she meant. After all, the child I'm carrying is genuinely my first. It's actually my first one. My response made her expression freeze. I clarified. Her face remained rigid, and something felt off. I couldn't shake the odd sensation, so I confronted her. What followed was an unexpected revelation from her lips. My name is Erica Watson, 28 years old. I work as a salesperson in the apparel department of a department store. My husband, Michael, and I have been married for just half a year. We met at a typical group blind date. Michael works for an ordinary company, with an average salary and benefits. While living solely on his income would be challenging, I also work as a full-time employee, so there are no major issues. I've always wanted children, but if I were to give birth, I'd inevitably have to take time off work. To prepare for that possibility, I've been diligently saving money. However, my husband, Michael, isn't quite as cooperative. When I tried to make a packed lunch to save money, he flatly refused.
Lunchbox? But I want to go out to various restaurants with my coworkers during lunchtime.
But didn't we agree to save money together? We need to start somewhere.
Saving is fine, but where to cut costs depends on individual values, right? I want to enjoy lunch with everyone.
So, Michael, where do you plan to cut costs?
Well, it's a bit. Yeah, various places. I'll find my own ways to contribute. Is that okay?
Sigh. Understood. Despite being married for just half a year, our relationship is already showing signs of strain. We should be in love and aligned, but these differences in values are starting to bother me. Moreover, even though it has been a year since we got married, my husband and I still don't have any children. It's not that we didn't want them. Simply put, we felt it wasn't the right time to have kids. The reason being, over the past 6 months, my husband has spent money freely without much consideration for saving. Whether it's lunch expenses, in-game purchases, or sneakers he desires, he spends without hesitation. Consequently, his monthly income isn't exceptionally high, and he manages to use up most of it within a month. From the beginning of our marriage, we've each contributed $700 per month for living expenses. However, recently, my husband has been asking,
Could you reduce my share a little?
Just the other day, he approached me with this request.
I'm sorry, Erica. It's about this month's living expenses. Could you decrease my portion a bit?
Why? We already reduced it by $70 last month.
Well, yeah, but things have been a bit complicated.
Complicated? That's why I said you should bring a lunchbox to save a little money.
It's not about that. Just please reduce it by $70.
Fine. But in return, let's manage things properly next month. As I reflect on the past 6 months, it seems that my husband's return home has gradually become later. There have been more days when he's away due to working on weekends. Despite undoubtedly increasing overtime, why is he running short on living expenses? He must be spending it on something, but whenever I ask, he evades the question. One day, feeling the need to change this situation, my husband's company organized a barbecue party. Families of employees were also invited, so my husband encouraged me to attend. Although the company has a predominantly male workforce, the atmosphere isn't awkward. As I sipped tea in a corner, an unfamiliar woman approached me.
Nice to meet you. You're Mrs. Watson, right?
Yes. Are you perhaps my husband's?
I'm Lisa Parker. I work in the same department. I had heard that we're the same age, and I felt a sense of camaraderie.
Ah. I see. I'm Erica. My husband always speaks highly of you.
Oh, that's great. I don't have many peers my age.
True. It seems there are mostly new recruits and older folks. Not many of us around the same age. Listening to her, I noticed that most of the young-looking women were likely temporary staff. On the other hand, the older women were mostly part-time employees. Full-time female staff seemed genuinely scarce. Perhaps that's why someone like me, close to her age, was a valuable connection. We chatted animatedly, momentarily forgetting my usual frustrations with my husband, and enjoyed a rare pleasant time together. After returning home, I approached my husband. Michael, thank you for inviting me today. I had so much fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. You seemed to have a lively conversation with Lisa, didn't you?
Yes, exactly. Lisa is such a wonderful person. We hit it off.
Yeah, Lisa is not only competent at work but probably one of the most capable female colleagues.
Wow, she's that impressive. She definitely seemed like someone who excels at what she does.
And her memory is remarkable. She remembers which companies we've dealt with and details of her own projects.
Lisa's outward appearance didn't give away her exceptional abilities. It's true what they say, looks can be deceiving. Her combination of competence, elegance, and an excellent memory is truly admirable. Inspired by her, I also immersed myself in work from the next day. I took charge of everything I could and made an effort to support others. However, amidst this, the disconnect between my husband and me grew larger. At my workplace, even during busy times, overtime is almost non-existent. Yet lately, I've sensed that my husband's return home has become even later than before. Previously, he would be back by 10 p.m. at the latest, but now it's commonplace for him to arrive past midnight. With more weekend work than before, I decided to inquire about the reason one day. Hey, Michael. Your return home has been incredibly late lately. Is work really that busy?
Huh? Oh, yeah, there are new tasks and various things going on.
But seriously, coming home after midnight, isn't that too late? How does the company view this?
No worries. Seriously. It's just temporary, and there's nothing for you to be concerned about, Erica.
Well, if you say so. His vague response left me uneasy, but pressing further now probably won't yield the answer I'm seeking. For now, I'll observe his behavior a little longer. However, 6 months later, my husband's overtime remained unchanged, and opportunities for us to meet as a couple became scarce. We no longer went on weekend dates like we used to, and lately, I found myself going out alone more often. On this particular day, my husband was working on a holiday, so I ventured out by myself. I took a train in the opposite direction of my usual route and headed to the newly opened shopping mall. The place was bustling, as expected for a recently launched establishment. As I strolled through various shops, I heard a familiar voice from behind.
Hey, over here.
It was undoubtedly my husband's voice. I instinctively turned around, but the crowd was overwhelming, making it difficult to spot him. I caught a glimpse of someone who might have been him, but he got swallowed up by the crowd, and I lost sight of him. What was going on? That was definitely Michael's voice. If he didn't call out to me, then who did? That night, I decided to wait for my husband's return and confront him. When he arrived home after 11 p.m., I wasted no time in starting the conversation. Hey, Michael. Where were you today?
Huh? What are you talking about? I was working on a holiday, obviously.
Well, I went to the newly opened shopping mall, and I heard your voice there.
Huh? The shopping mall in the neighboring city?
You knew about it?
Well, it was all over the news. But I was at work, so I definitely didn't go to a place like that.
His visibly flustered response confirmed my suspicion. Michael was lying. Since then, I've been closely observing his behavior. Just then, I began experiencing constant nausea. Why all of a sudden? Did I eat something strange? The queasiness persisted for about a week. Gathering my resolve, I visited the hospital, and to my surprise, I was confirmed to be pregnant. Despite my financial worries, I had been diligent about contraception, but now that I was actually pregnant, my anxiety gradually faded, replaced by a sense of happiness. When I shared the news with my husband, he was overjoyed.
Wait! Pregnant? Seriously?
Yet, there was a hint of tension in his expression. It seemed I had a severe susceptibility to morning sickness. Although I had intended to closely monitor my husband's behavior, I couldn't bring myself to do so. 6 months later, I entered the stable phase of pregnancy, and the morning sickness finally eased. Previously, due to the severity of my symptoms, my husband had accompanied me to doctor's appointments, but now that was no longer necessary. As I became accustomed to visiting the obstetrics and gynecology clinic alone, I made it a daily routine to browse baby products on my smartphone while waiting for my appointments. One day, I was unexpectedly approached.
Huh? Could it be?
When I looked up, there stood Lisa, a familiar colleague of my husband's. She gently touched her own belly, her face filled with joy.
You're expecting your second child, right? Judging by your belly, our due dates might be the same, huh?
Lisa?
Getting pregnant with a second child while the first one is still so young, it must be quite challenging. By the way, were you pregnant with your first child during the barbecue party?
Well, about the second child.
I'm in awe of how quickly you're expanding your family. Your older child is only about 6 months old, right?
I was puzzled by Lisa's words. The truth was, this child I was carrying was indeed my first. Despite my confusion, I hesitantly spoke up. Lisa, this child is actually my first.
Huh? Your first? The one in your belly?
Yes. This is my first child. Her expression froze. Something was off. Without hesitation, I confronted her. Lisa, why did you think this child was my second?
Well,
Please tell me. I can't ignore this.
Erica.
She looked uncomfortable throughout, but then, as if gathering her resolve, she met my gaze and slowly spoke.
Actually, I saw something a little while ago at a park. Michael was walking around, carrying a small child.
Wait. Michael?
The child wasn't quite walking on their own yet, and based on the size, I think it's been about 6 months since it was born. Since I didn't see you around, I assumed Michael was taking the child for a walk alone.
Did you hear this from my husband?
I only saw it from the car at the time, and I was dealing with severe morning sickness, so I couldn't ask for the whole story. I'm sorry. I must have said something strange.
No, thank you for telling me. Lisa left with an indescribable expression. Meanwhile, I was filled with a boiling rage. I see. So that's what happened. The increased overtime was because of an affair, right? And on top of that, the other person has a child. I absolutely cannot forgive this. After finishing my checkup, I confronted my husband in the living room where he was watching TV.
Welcome back.
Without delay, I pressed him with questions. Hey, Michael. I ran into Lisa at the hospital earlier.
Huh? Lisa? She quit because of severe morning sickness. I was worried about her.
Well, Lisa told me something. She said we're expecting our second child.
Huh?
Michael. Do you have any idea what she meant? His face drained of color, and I sensed his agitation. Though his eyes darted around, he desperately began to explain.
What are you talking about? A second child? Lisa must have misunderstood something, right?
Yeah, I thought the same. But she saw it. She saw you carrying a baby.
That's impossible. I don't have any kids.
I found it strange. No pay increase despite overtime, frequent weekend work. Lisa mentioned that your company doesn't require weekend work.
Ah.
Yes, I had heard another crucial piece of information from Lisa. It was related to my husband's late returns and revolved around overtime and working on holidays. According to her, my husband's company allows overtime until 8 p.m. at most, and there has never been a case of weekend work. Therefore, no matter how much overtime he claims, it's strange for him to return home past midnight. Even the days he mentioned as work-related weekend outings would mean he was somewhere other than the office. Hey, where were you and what were you doing? I pressed my husband, and he began trembling uncontrollably. Perhaps realizing he couldn't continue evading the truth, he slowly opened his mouth.
At girlfriend's house.
Girlfriend? How long have you been seeing her?
Well, she's my ex-girlfriend, and she got pregnant, so I've been visiting her regularly.
Your ex-girlfriend, huh? And the child, is it yours?
Yes.
I seethed with anger at myself for choosing such a pathetic man. Frustration and disbelief surged within me.
I'm going to break up with her, so please forgive me.
His attempt to sweep everything under the rug with those words made me raise my voice. You've got to be kidding. What do you think children are? You casually talk about breaking up, but because of you, the child of your affair partner won't have a father. And yet you. It's all about self-preservation. You're utterly selfish.
No! I just want to prioritize you. It was a momentary lapse with my ex-girlfriend.
What? Disgusting. After all your selfish behavior, now you're spouting nonsense? You're the kind of scum who impregnates both me and your ex-girlfriend. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me.
Shut up, you scumbag. Never come near me again. You'd better suffer and rot in hell, you piece of trash. And don't forget, I'll make sure you pay alimony and child support. Got it? Be prepared. My words left my husband slumped and defeated. Ignoring him, I gathered my belongings and returned to my parents' home. Afterward, with the help of both sets of parents, I divorced Michael. A few days later, I hired a lawyer and demanded compensation from both my ex-husband and his affair partner. I won't forget to claim child support for the baby in my belly from my ex-husband. Michael was already financially strained, having depleted his savings. He borrowed money to cover all the expenses, but when Lisa leaked information about his affair to the company, he was transferred to a subsidiary in a distant location due to the upper management's anger. Now abandoned by his affair partner as well, Michael works tirelessly to pay child support to me. Meanwhile, I'm nearing my due date, entering the final stages of pregnancy. Although I'm scared since it's my first time, the thought of finally meeting my child makes me smile naturally. While my child may face sadness due to the absence of a father, I vow to protect them. After all, I am this child's mother. Soon, we'll meet. Wait for me. I gently stroke my swollen belly. With this child, everything will be okay. We'll find happiness together as parent and child. I silently made that promise in my heart.
How did you find this story? If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time.